Good morning. It's time for today's AM Minnesota program, and it's going to be one of my favorite topics, food and things related to food. Of course, we're going to be talking about the farm business breakfast that's coming up. In studio, Claire LaCanne, extension educator in Rice and Steele County, and also Tiffany Tripp. And I'm not sure how to introduce Tiffany, because when I hear Tiffany, I think of the farmer's market.
Yeah, well, I sell at the regular farmers market season, but I started up the winter farmers market. That's been my baby for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and it's really... I am co-owner of Gray's Farm. My partner, Andy, would be proud that I remembered to announce that today, because I usually forget to announce. That's really my most important role today.
Us guys have to stick together and watch out for one another, right? And of course, I think everybody knows Claire LaCanne.
Oh gosh, I don't know about everybody. I just started in May, so I'm still meeting lots of people in Faribault and Owatonna and Rice and Steele counties, but I am your University of Minnesota Extension local educator down here in Rice and Steele counties.
And get this, Tiffany, you know what Claire likes?
Bugs.
Bugs! Insects!
Yeah, I know nothing about bugs except that I don't like to kill many things, but I like to kill the ones that are living in my house. But I'm fascinated watching Claire talk so passionately about entomology.
First time I met Claire, she said, well, I went to a college that you probably don't know where it is, Augustana. And I said, I had 5 brothers and sisters that went to Augustana.
Wow. Not
a lot of agriculture there, so I went to the University of Minnesota. So I was always kind of the black sheep of my family, too. And then I really turned into the black sheep when I married Auguste.
Oh. Well, you said we're here to talk about food, so Claire, what do bugs have to do? How do they influence our food today?
I like to kill bugs that like to chew on my crops.
We could eat bugs. Yeah. There's a lot of buzz out there today about the health benefits of eating insects. That's coming soon.
Yeah, a lot of cultures eat insects as part of a staple of their diet, and I personally like to carry a few little dried insects. You can buy them food grade, and harass kids and persuade children to eat some little freeze-dried larvae or crickets. And they're raised sanitarily, so I reassure the parents. The kids usually are just fine with eating the insects. They're like, oh, I eat these on the sidewalk anyway. No.
I think I prefer meat and potatoes and eggs.
Well, you'd be surprised that there's probably, depending on where, no, we're not going to go there.
Well, anyway, we have to take a break for the markets here in a couple minutes. So maybe we should mention that afterwards. We're really excited about the big event coming up here. Boy, not next week, but the following week.
Yeah, it's coming up quickly already. We have our Farm Business Breakfast. So it's put on by the Faribault Chamber of Commerce Agribusiness Committee, which we 3 are all members of. And it's starting at 7:30 a.m. and we will not be serving any insects for breakfast.
Then we can be thankful for that.
And that's 7:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 20th. That's actually National Ag Day.
Yeah, and we should explain, you guys maybe haven't been involved quite as many years as I have, but this is kind of an offshoot of the Farm Business Luncheon we used to do around Thanksgiving for many years.
You're correct. We have not been involved. Neither of us have been involved in that.
And the committee just, you guys were at that meeting. Well, a couple, 3 of them we talked about kind of changing things up and doing something a little bit different this year, and we're all excited about it.
Yep, so we moved the date and made it a breakfast, so it's kind of a spin-off of the tradition that's been in Faribault for how many years do you think, Jerry?
I've been here for 23 years, and it was going on when I started here. My first year here, Kim Anderson was a sales manager, and she took me to the Farm Business Lunch, and I just started at KDHL. So it's been a lot of years, and just because we've always done it one way doesn't mean we can't try something different. And so we're trying something different this year.
Yeah, and we hope that this can become the new tradition maybe. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, we have to take a quick break for the markets, and after the markets, of course, we'll get all the deals or all the details. And Tiffany's going to tell us what's for breakfast that day. All locally raised food. Another exciting twist.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know you wore glasses. Normally contacts?
Yep, normally contacts.
Must have been a hard day yesterday.
My sister came over. She's going to Texas today, so it was a little later night for me. So it was good to see her. She's living in Iowa, so we don't see each other too often right now.
The market update was sponsored by the KDHL Agro Boosters. They include Bart Jackson Insurance Agency in downtown Faribault, where Bart is happy to customize the right insurance coverage for you, specializing in farms and businesses. Extension educator in Rice and Steele County, Claire LaCanne, is in studio along with Tiffany Tripp of Rough Acres?
No, Gray's Farm.
Gray's Farms.
I just had breakfast this morning, though, with Ramon from Rough Acres Market, and he's one of our sponsors for the breakfast, so very important to mention him.
Well, I was trying to stick together with your partner and make sure we got you guys have to
Ramon
stick together.
might like me to be a partner.
Yeah. Well, we better go into the details, and before the market break, we briefly mentioned how this is kind of an offshoot of what we've done for many years of Faribault Chamber of Commerce, Agribusiness Committee, the farm luncheon, usually around Thanksgiving, traditionally about the week before Thanksgiving. Well, now it's going to be on National Egg Day.
It is March 20th, and maybe just a little background about the change. We decided to move it from November to March, partially because a lot of farmers were still in the fields in mid-November these days with global warming and
well, I remember
some temperature changes.
Yeah.
It's a little warmer still, and so that was kind of challenging to get a lot of people to come in.
And even a couple of years ago, we had a beautiful fall, and everybody was done, had time to get some extra things done. And all at once, a day after our scheduled event, the snowstorm was supposed to come, and so guys were putting things away. And even though it was a good fall, a lot of farmers still couldn't come.
Yeah.
So
we could still have a snowstorm a week from Tuesday.
Don't say that. I'm going to shut your mic off.
We've had lately, but I don't think too many farmers are out planting yet this time of year.
So we can take some time, and it's not a luncheon; it's a breakfast this year.
We're gonna have a breakfast. So North Johnson approached me about helping out with this event this year to try to source more of the ingredients locally, and this is something that I've done before. Last summer, I actually hosted a soil health workshop put on by the Sustainable Farming Association here in town, and worked very closely with Arna Farmer Catering, who's going to cater our breakfast. Sat down with her and figured out a menu based on the ingredients that were available at that time of year, which was August. And most people in August know that we can find a lot of an abundance of vegetables, and there's meat and there's eggs and there's a lot of products that time of year. And throughout the fall, but going into the winter, people kind of wonder, well, what are we going to eat that's local? What's locally raised in Minnesota in the wintertime? Well,
you might be surprised, and I think we will be.
Yes, many of you listening may know that we do have a winter farmers market here in Faribault, so we have food producers that do produce, raise, grow, or make food year-round. And we're going to source ingredients from a variety of food producers for this event. You ready to hear what that is?
I'm getting hungry.
I'll also say that I'm surprised how long farmers can store their produce with the right storage facilities and the right conditions, because some of the food that you'll hear about is actually from last fall's harvest, but has been stored perfectly and is still in really good condition.
Yeah, so an example of that is our root vegetables, potatoes, carrots, onions, those types of vegetables. If a vegetable farmer has the right storage facility, some type of a cellar environment, they are able to store those for a long time. This isn't anything new in the world. Our food today is shipped all over the world, so it has to be stored in a cool area. And
But back in the day, the settlers, they had those holes in the ground called them root cellars type things, right?
Yep.
They still work today.
And people still have those, or they create an environment that's similar. So we're going to have at our breakfast an egg bake that is made with eggs from Gray's farm. That's our farm.
Your partner would be proud.
So we're collecting we have about 20 dozen eggs that we'll put into this meal for about 200 people. We're limiting the meal to 200 people this year.
Because you've gotten so much locally sourced food, and that's what we have.
Planning is required when you're trying to source from a number of different people. We're not just going into a grocery store and buying everything, and if we run out, we can run back and get it, and we have to plan a little bit in advance. That egg bake is going to have vegetables from Boundless Roots in Medford. They store their potatoes, onions in a cellar type environment, and then they also freeze sweet peppers in the fall and other vegetables, but we are going to incorporate the sweet peppers that they have as well. And then we're going to have cheddar cheese from Cannon Bells. They are a really new Minnesota cheese maker. 3 ladies that started making cheese 2 years ago. I believe it was late summer of 2016, and they've been a hit at the Faribault Winter Farmers Market. And
we all know everything goes better with cheese on it.
They have great cheese.
Yeah, so very excited to have them be a part of this event. We're going to have turkey sausage links from Jenny-O, one of the larger producers in town, and they do work with a number of turkey farmers in our area and throughout the state.
You don't have to go too far from where we sit to find a turkey barn.
That's right. I forgot to mention, well, you might use this on your turkey sausage links, or the next item is an apple French toast bake.
Sounds way too fancy for me.
So for that French toast, I'm really excited. Like Claire mentioned, some fruits and vegetables can be stored for a longer time to be consumed later than a few weeks after they're picked. Apples are another one of those.
Oh, yeah.
So Dan Abelman of Abelman's Apple Creek Orchard has a few types of apples that he's able to store for a longer period of time, and he's continuously experimenting with different breeds of apples to do that. So he's supplying the apples.
We sampled some of his ware, of course, doing our due diligence.
Now, being as how we are all adults, did you talk to him about fermenting the apple cider into hard apple cider?
Oh, that's an idea for next year.
So he actually does supply apples to Keepsake Cidery in Dundas. So we have a local cidery where you can consume.
He's already thought of that.
Yeah.
All that's happening right here in the Cannon Valley region. So. That apple French toast bake, one of the main ingredients is bread.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we require flour to make bread, and we're sourcing our flour from Ben Penner Farms in Belle Plaine. He grows certified organic whole wheats and has it milled here in Minnesota. And we are working together with Hy-Vee to make the bread for this. Especially for this meal.
So you're bringing the flour in and...
Yeah.
And Hy-Vee's making it. That's really, really special.
Yeah, very exciting. And then you can have maple syrup from Jerick's family farm on top of your French toast if it's not sweet enough already. Arna did tell me that it's...
I've done some interviews with the guys that get the sap and they boil off the water.
They're getting ready to do that right now.
And you think you go to the grocery store and you buy maple syrup. I've heard it's not maple syrup like the real stuff. So I finally get to
buy
sample
the maple syrup locally. Yeah, and probably if you follow Jerick's Family Farms on Facebook, you might get some tidbits. I know they're trying to do, here and there some more videos and stuff, but they're prepping up right now for their maple syrup season. So, and he's also supplying us with some honey for people that want sweetener in their coffee or tea. And the coffee and tea is going to be supplied by Rough Acres Market. The coffee is locally roasted from Groundwire in Northfield.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. And let's see, what else? Cheese. Okay, so we're also going to have a cheese tray at our breakfast, and that is going to highlight 3 different cheese makers. We're going to have, it's really a cheese curd tray. We're going to have cheese curds from Cannon Bells, from the Caves of Faribault, right here in Faribault, and from goat milk cheese curds made by Singing Hills Dairy. They are out in Nerstrand. It's a woman-owned business, and she milks some of her goats for the milk and also sources from another local farmer.
And then does she make the cheese?
And she makes all the
Yes.
cheese on her, she calls it a micro dairy farm.
And I'll say, even if you think you don't like goat cheese, hers is so good and it's really mild and doesn't have that goat taste that some people really don't
Because
like.
I think it all depends on the yeast and the different cultures they use. That's how you kind of get the different types of cheeses too, right?
I'm not sure.
Well, there's different flavors from what the
From
animals eat
yeah.
and
Sure,
the different
yeah.
types of animals. So I guess I've never had a bad thought about eating different types of cheeses. There's wonderful cheeses from goats, sheep, and cows all in this area and
Yeah.
worldwide. So. And the really neat thing about that variety too is I was talking with somebody that's planning to attend the event, and they're dairy intolerant. They have an intolerance
Oh, yeah.
from
Lactose intolerance, is that what it's called?
Some of it has to do with lactose. I don't know all the specifics, but there's people that are lactose intolerant. There's people that are
More
intolerant to
sensitive.
dairy cow milk,
But maybe
but
they
they're
could
able
eat goat
to consume
milk,
goat
or
milk.
cheese.
Yep. So they were excited to hear that we were going to have the goat milk cheese curds at the event, and then we'll also have dairy. A lot of these items do have dairy, and we're getting our dairy from Hastings Co-op Creamery, and there's a number of farmers in the area that supply milk to them, and so they're supplying us with milk, cream, butter for the event. And for those people that don't care for milk in their or are dairy intolerant, Rough Acres Market will have a non-dairy, non-cow milk option.
This took a lot of planning.
Yeah, yes, and a lot of coordinating with local farmers. So it's really neat that we're getting them all in one place and all for one delicious breakfast.
Well, and we did kind of allude to it too, that there are only 200 tickets that are available, and I'm sure well over half of them were already spoken for, I think I heard.
Yeah, at least 100 are already spoken for. So get your ticket now.
And you can pick them up at the Faribault Chamber of Commerce office,
Yep.
and also Community Co-op Oil Association in Faribault, their main office right at the
By the
south end
library.
of Central Avenue.
You
Yep,
can also
that's
order
right.
them online at the Faribault
Oh,
Chamber of
okay,
Commerce
cool.
website. Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about that though, because I have one.
Yeah. You have connections too.
You know, my favorite saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the breakfast. Now, Tiffany, I thought we were going to start serving breakfast at 7:30. How's that?
It'll be a buffet style breakfast, but we do intend for the people to really go through breakfast between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, at which time we'll start with our program.
So you can show up and you kind of go through the line, gather your food, go and sit down. So, but sometimes you get 200 people there. Okay, all now we're going to go and eat, and it takes an hour to get everybody through. So as they come at 7:30 or just after,
Yeah,
they go
they'll be
through the
able to-
line, get the great food, and then sit down and eat and visit with your friends
Pretty
and your
simple.
neighbors.
Yep.
Yep.
Come and meet some new people.
Yeah.
Or bring your neighbor and just sit and chat and have breakfast with him or her.
And then, Claire, you had a role in getting our speakers for the program.
Yes, so the whole event is going to be emceed by Lynn Kettleson, which we're familiar with his voice too, of the Linder Farm Network. And I've heard that we're going to have to make sure he stays on track.
Farm
Is there any
broadcasters,
truth
windy?
to that?
No,
Yeah.
that would never happen.
And then our speakers are both from the University of Minnesota Extension. We have Megan Roberts, who is an agricultural management or business management educator with Extension, and she lives in rural Blue Earth County, so she has some experience on the farm too. She worked with South Central College for a while and now is with University of Minnesota, and she farms soybeans, corn, and hogs with her husband in rural Blue Earth County. And something I just learned about Megan too, her aunt is actually the owner and operator of Singing Hills Farm, which is the goats in Nerstrand. So, and then her and her husband have a decent-sized hog operation. So, little connections, a small world. And Megan's going to be talking about the growing economic impact of women in agriculture in Minnesota. So I'm interested to hear about that, and she's going to pull up some statistics and tell us about specifically the growing impact of women in Rice County agriculture, because she can't break it down quite by like town, but she can by county. And actually we have a higher percentage of women primary operators in Rice County than in Minnesota at large. Yep. So she also her primary programming focuses on farm business management and then Women in Agriculture Network that was just recently started 3 years ago by the University of Minnesota Extension.
And then, of course, Dean of Extension is coming down.
Yes, our big featured keynote speaker, Bev Durgan, is going to come down, and she has dedicated her career to connecting communities with University of Minnesota resources. And she's going to be speaking about how Extension has served and can serve Rice County.
Interesting fact about Dr. Bev Durgan. She does have her PhD in weed science. So she was actually a real agronomist, weed science. And someone told me every fall she still teaches a weed science class at the university.
Yep, that's my understanding. She still keeps that background, and that's really what her passion and background is in. And she started with Extension as an educator and then has gone up from there, and now she's Dean of overall Extension, so that includes agriculture, the 4-H program, the SNAP Ed nutrition program, and the youth development program. You know, we all have a slightly different role in Extension, but her real passion and background is in agriculture.
So that means, Tiffany, that's the top of Claire's bosses.
Yeah.
So we better put a good word in for Claire when Bev Durgan is down here.
And I'm thinking,
I won't complain about that.
I'm thinking that's maybe Claire's dream job.
Oh gosh. We'll see.
Just started as an educator.
So it should be a great program. So we start at 7:30 or whenever you come after that. Go through the line, get the all locally sourced food prepared by Anna Farmer Catering.
Arna Farmer.
Arna, yep. And then the program's going to start about 8. You're shooting for?
Yep. Again, if we can keep Lynn on schedule. No. And then we're thinking the speakers will go till about 9:15, and then we'll have time to kind of chat afterward, and we're kicking everyone out at 9:30. No, but it's slotted from 7:30 to 9:30, so you can plan your chores accordingly.
Well, and I know those of us involved in agriculture, we might try and hang around and sip coffee and visit for a little while after that, some of us.
Yeah, well, it's at the KC Hall, so we won't actually have to kick you out.
Yep, and if you don't know where that is, right across the street from the post office in downtown Faribault, pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, it sounds like it's all easy.
Yeah.
Why are
no planning involved.
I just got the look from Tiffany Claire. Did you see that?
There's a lot of work that goes into planning any event, and when I signed up to do this, I was really interested in working with the food portion of it. I was really glad when Claire chimed in and decided to help with the speaker portion of it, and together we're working with Kim Anderson on the promotional part of it.
And other committee members. There was a lot of discussion talking about how we wanted to handle things at the monthly meetings.
And I was going to say with the other committee members too, they've been a really big part of getting sponsors, and some of the other people that are going to help out, like you, Jerry, do you want to talk about some of your guests that are coming?
Oh, the Randolph FFA, I think organizations or meetings that have the blue jackets, the official dress of the FFA, brings a little class to the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ed Terry's kids are coming down, and they're preparing a little thing on the economic impact of agriculture in Rice County. So they've done that, helped us during the fall event for a number of years, and so it's always great to work with them. So they're coming down. And
then we're also having Bernd Halverson, who is a teacher at Bethlehem Academy, come with his brand new agricultural course. So Faribault hasn't had any agricultural course for several years. Do you know how many years?
They I don't think when I started they'd already dropped the program. And back when I was in the FFA, we despised the Faribault FFA. They
were good, right?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
And we'd study and we'd practice because we always wanted to beat Faribault. Their strength was always parliamentary procedure. And no matter how hard we studied, how much we practiced, we could still never beat Faribault.
Yeah.
So it's great to see maybe get an agriculture program and FFA going in Faribault again.
Yeah, I think that's part of Baron's goal, and he just started. He had one semester this past school year, and it went really well. The kids seemed to love it. I went to a meeting, an advisory meeting, where the kids talked about their experience, and they were really surprised how many jobs there are in agriculture that aren't farming. And so that was something that was new to them, and I think a strength of the course is really connecting the kids to other careers in agriculture.
And that's what FFA is all about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When I was in the FFA and when I was a farmer, it was those of us that were out there producing corn and soybeans, crops, and livestock, which is what, maybe 1% of the population, but
yep,
the
that's
field
true.
of agriculture is a lot bigger than that. Actually, 20% of our overall economy. When you look at all the processing and the transportation and the research and development for the inputs and the products that we need, agriculture is huge business.
Yeah, and you mentioned a statistic there. I don't know what it is today, but when I went to college back in the 90s, I didn't go to school for agriculture originally. I left home and wanted to get as far away from it as possible. I grew up on a dairy farm, for those of you that aren't familiar. And within the first year, somebody gave me some statistics that, about 80% of jobs are somehow related to agriculture. And that really got me thinking, it's like, maybe I will get back into the School of Agriculture, and ended up studying agricultural economics. And
Where did you go to college?
University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh, really? Is there an ag school over in Wisconsin?
Yeah, a small one.
I don't know.
I was at the U of M, in case you didn't catch that. So.
I didn't want to stay too close to home.
We've got a badger, a gopher, and a jackrabbit all in the same studio. Jeez.
Yeah.
So before the time runs out, I just want to say to everyone that this event is open to the public. You
Yes.
don't have to be a farmer.
Actually, it'd be great if you would, because then you come and visit with a farmer.
If you are a farmer, you're invited. If you're interested in becoming a farmer, you're invited. If you're curious about where your food comes from, you're invited. If you're just curious about the subject of extension, maybe you have a home garden or like to plant things, or you're interested in insects, you can come and meet people that also have that interest and background.
How about if you like to eat? You're invited.
I like
French toast.
Tickets are $15, and that covers the meal and the program and supports everything that the Ag Business Committee is doing through the Faribault Chamber of Commerce.
And again, that's limited to 200 tickets, and half of them are gone. So get going and buy yourself a ticket.
And we only have 25 seconds left, but I'd like to get a plug in. We do have fun on the Faribault Chamber of Commerce Agribusiness Committee, and we'd always like to get more people involved. I know everyone is busy. You can do a little bit, you can do a lot. We usually meet about once a month, the first Thursday of the month, and get involved.
Yep.
Have some fun.
Yep.
And it's not permitted. New members can't pick on Jerry. Well, we have news from ABC. Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Jerry.
Here's news from ABC.